I love sci-fi comic books, the concepts, the future gadgetry, the villains, the time travel. It's all delightful stuff, and especially when you can achieve it in film form. Obviously, some of the forefathers of that was 100% Flash, Flash Gordon, and everything else. Well, how about one that takes influence from it? Trancers This is definitely an interesting one. Angel City, 2247. Trooper Jack Death, DETH, is bailing the last disciples of Whistler, who used his psychic powers to trance and control his army. Though he'd be thought dead, he's very much alive. In the year 1985, Whistler's master plan to kill the ancestors of the city council. The council disbanded, and nothing can stop him from controlling the city. Jack Death is sent back in time to inhabit his ancestors' body and dismantle Whistler's mission. It is standard as a plot that it can get, and especially when this is from Echo Bridge Home Entertainment. But because even though this is a legendarily lousy VHS transfer, which I seem to be getting a lot for whatever reason, this is a nice movie to look at. It takes the full, not pulp, full comic book futuristic effect, and it works so well. Let me explain. It has a very interesting here's what I noticed. First of all, very, very nice visuals, especially right in the beginning of like saying, hey, this lady is a transfer, this person is a transfer, and can cause some havoc. So how do we go about doing that? We'll have them kind of only be awoken or having chaos. We get that in the beginning at a diner, where there's this nice employee there, but then lo and behold she becomes violent, and our hero, along with another person, has to try and help stop her. And then a massive explosion happens. That's how you start a 75-minute movie. And then we go into a scene later where it's kind of a funny inversion on Christmas. Yes, I am dead serious. Let me explain. So it's like Helen Hunt is also in this. I think she's even in that scene of which the Trancer is playing Santa Claus. So what do they have? Santa Claus getting beat up, or at least the person portraying him. The little set that they have for it gets wrecked, and he even gets beaten with a giant candy cane, which was pretty funny. So it was nice to see it wasn't a bad Santa. It was more of a sleeper agent Santa. Yes, I can't believe I just said that. And even in the beginning, when we have like this council of people, it pulls off the futuristic look really nice. That's what I liked about this movie, When I was just sitting there and watching, I'm like, okay, so we have a nice set. We have the scene where all the council members are at. And we even have the futuristic stuff. I'm like, okay, what's the gadgets and stuff? Like, obviously the firearm, which is pretty cool. Then the way how he goes back in time is with a serum, a drug. I'm like, interesting. But rather than have him be able to return at any time, we instead have our hero have a vial and only have like one or two of them, or to be able to return 250 years into the future. So as I'm looking at it, I'm like, well, I like the concept here. This is more of the giving it a edge, I guess you could say, of what he has to do to survive. It's not like it's all just willy-nilly or anything, or he can easily return. No, this is limited supply, almost kind of like Resident Evil in the beginning entries where you had a limited ammo, so you really have to think about it. But and again, when he also takes hold of his ancestor's body, he has to adapt to the ways, which I found that to be intriguing, rather than actually automatically gain the insights of what made his ancestor. Well, his ancestor, he has to get into the, what's the word? has to get himself mixed into the White House ancestors. I found that to be interesting as well. And overall, this movie was good. I like the punk rock aesthetic of, with like all the spiky hair and everything. When she's playing in a band, I found that to be pretty cool. So, it's the most standard tale that you can get. And obviously, with this being that 2005, that Blu-ray wasn't invented yet, so of course we had the lousy transfer. You know what? I did not let that hinder my enjoyment. I thought, I like this. I like the way how it worked. Everything looked pretty. It's like the way how trying to get rid of all the politicians and everything. That was a cool concept. So yeah, so Trancers, yes, obviously there was, this is like one of Helen Hunt's first movies. There's obviously 2 and 3 that I will definitely want to review. Heck, I may even go back and review this because it's on Tubi or Pluto for free. So yeah, Trancers 1, recommended.